Hi everyone, it's Rachel,
Linda,
and we are
truth,
Trust.
and transformation. We did not plan that.
So, today is Saturday. It's the 2nd of August, and we're just going to get into and talk about
Something that all I can say is I had to come to Jesus with myself about overwork, and we were going to talk about other things. And I texted Rachel this morning and said, can we do this? Because it's so fresh in my mind, and it came up in our first episode, right?
Yes. Overworking, a
Overworking.
tendency. So what does that look like for you?
Well, from what I feel like now, it looks like an addictive process for me. That and a trauma response and cultural conditioning. So I tend to, what I've realized lately, I decided to spend the summer not going anywhere. I've been cleaning out my body with a gut detox diet. I've been cleaning out my house so that it's more organized, taking care of my dog who's been ill, not going anywhere. But I find myself, even though I'm not working as far as teaching a lot, once I get started, I can't stop until I'm exhausted. And I'm used to being exhausted. And this is another thing that I've noticed is that my baseline feeling is tired and in pain. And so I will do whatever I have to do to get to that place because that's what feels normal to me. Yes, I know this is sick. But I had a doc tell me, he's like, well, if you're doing more with the same amount of pain, we call that a win. And I understand that, but I also know that I don't want to live like this. Like, because I'm not having any fun and it's summer and I technically could take time to have fun, but that work ethic in me is like, well, no, we've got to get all of this stuff done and then we can have fun. Mm-hmm. But I will get all of that stuff done and then my studio will reboot and I'll be in a whole nother 9-month thing. And I know that I'm not alone in this. Like any kind of teacher gets a little panicky, in different parts of the cycle. Like, okay, it's June, like how long is it going to take me to recover? And then I have to do all this stuff to get ready. And then I'm not living. And I think that that's not just a teacher thing. I think that's a human thing. And I think it's an American thing.
Yeah.
And it's not healthy. So can I just tell the story?
Yeah.
So there's a jazz festival in town where we are. And I've actually sung at this jazz festival several times, which was a whole nother thing. But I really wanted to go see this one particular band of some musicians that I've known for a very long time, and I love their music. I wanted to go Wednesday to see another friend play at like an opening act, but I worked all day, and even 3 hours before the hit, I was like, I'm not going to make it. Like, I can't imagine getting in my car and driving a 5-minute drive, but then finding parking and all the things. So I didn't make it to that. And I'm like, Linda, I'm going to be so pissed at you if you do this on Friday because you really want to go. And I had a treatment on my feet. I had shockwave and I had done PT the day before. And so I forced myself to take a day off, a whole day. Like I did go to the grocery store after my treatment when I was still like endorphins, what that's like. And I literally, it was like yanking on a leash, like my discipline, I have to discipline myself to rest. I have to discipline myself to have fun. And I would not even let myself get started because I felt like a shark. Like as soon as I taste that blood, I'm going to feast until I'm engorged with like fatigue. So I did, and I went to the festival, and I had a good time. Mm-hmm. And I saw people I hadn't seen for a long time, and I feel like people surely would have forgotten that I exist by now because I'm just never out there. And it was lovely, and the music was lovely, and there were all these like situations I got to witness, like a dog and a puppy and a little baby like interact, all those things,
Right,
all those
just
things
being
that I
there.
miss because I'm at home exhausted doing the only thing I can do, which is to sit and watch Netflix until I feel like I've finally let go of all my responsibilities, and then I go to bed. So going forward, I don't know how this will go. And the other thing that I look at, you know, when you talk about cultural and trauma responses and just personality, I think I have all of those things working against me, and the fact that there's just a lot to do.
Right. And then there's just you to do it.
And there's just me to do it, and that's reality. But I can also choose to sort of titrate my expectations and my timelines. You know, like, how important is it? And I used to not be able to prioritize. Like, my ADD was so bad, and my anxiety, that I would be like, oh, but I got to do this. And then the important thing, by the time I went to do the important thing, it was not happening. And then I was really in a tizzy. And I've grown a lot, but my propensity to overwork, like, it downright kind of frightens me a little bit. Like, because I can take anything, you know, house projects, work projects. So that's my little confession. But I do see that I can do something about it. But life is life. And I hope I'm pretty sure this is going to be relatable to people, because I think, especially in our culture, everybody is overworked.
Yeah, I think we're taught, in order to make it anywhere, that you have to put in the work, you have to work hard, or you're not going to get to where you want to get, you're not going to make your goals. And I find that when I started getting into like more spiritual practices, it kind of shifted my mindset about, you don't have to work hard to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to work hard to meet your goals. If you're putting out there your, like, what you want, then you know it's going to be brought to you. If you're keeping your vibration high, if you're staying in a mindset where, like, all these things are going to come to me, and you know it and you feel it, then no, you don't have to work hard. And it was a hard thing for me to wrap my brain around, because I'm the same way. Like, I'm a workaholic. I take on too much. It's hard for me to say no.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like spread so thin, and then it's like I also have to schedule to have fun. And like, who wants to schedule fun? I think it should just be part of our daily life to do something for ourselves.
Right.
Especially being in a giving. So like, I'm a healer. I work in the medical field, and then I work with patients outside as a life coach. So like, that's my calling. It's what I'm supposed to do. But I also have to know that I have to, like, give that to myself too. And I just can't give it to everybody and then not pour into myself, because then I get stressed, and then I turn into a not nice person because I feel overworked. But it's my own doing. Nobody's making me do it. It's just like, I'm doing it, and I always say yes. So I've started being what you call selfish, and take time for myself. Like, nope, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna, like, make the time to do something that I enjoy, even if it's just sitting and reading a book.
Yes, and I think I like the word discernment, because it takes the place of selfish, and it takes the place of judgment. It's just like, I'm not judging this thing as bad. I'm discerning that this isn't right for me. I'm not saying I'm being selfish. I'm discerning that this is what I need to be able to continue to give.
Right.
And I also think, like, back to that trauma response of, you know, being raised in a place where you felt like the only way that you could survive was to be productive.
Right.
And to make sure you were self-sufficient and made enough money and all of those things. And then, you know, and we're going to have episodes on trauma, trust me. The whole trauma response of, like, I have to survive. I have to do what other people want so that I can survive. That stuff is, like, deep in the DNA. I said this thing into my voicemail this morning about how the trauma response and something else, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting it, are like DNA. You know, like, the personality and all of that, and then it's coded in experience.
Absolutely.
You know, and so it's like, wow, that's going to take a little while to wash out.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if you've ever read Joe Dispenza. He has a book called You Are the Placebo, and he talks about how we have a trauma experience, and then we tell that story over and over again.
Yeah.
And then that becomes our personality and who we are. And 20 years down the road, you're like, I'm like this because of this thing that happened to me 15 years ago, and that's why I'm like this. But then that becomes who you are now, because that's your story. Right.
Yeah, and then and what I'm noticing, just like I said, I was telling Rachel that before I went to the festival, I ran into these people and I was trying to get these frames. I found frames on the side of the road, and I'm walking my dog and I'm trying to carry all this stuff. And one of my neighbors was like, hey, I'll drive those over to your house. You know, like I'm surrounded by kind people because I've grown and I've changed enough, and I don't tolerate, you know, there's that discernment again. People who are mean and selfish and see any of my needs as just like, oh my God, you need help. Yeah. You know, and that's not a part of my life anymore. And I feel more safe. And I think safety is a huge thing. Because like when you feel safe, then you feel like you can relax a little bit. And that whole thing about following your intuition, like I know my needs will be met because I'm connected.
Exactly.
To something bigger than myself, that if I allow it to happen, what I need will come to me when I need it. And I might lose something over here, but then I'm going to gain something over here. And if you allow yourself to just have, like, maybe this could be true. Maybe this could happen. It starts happening, and then you start trusting it.
And then you instinctively just know, I don't have to worry about this because this is what I'm putting out in the universe, and this is what's going to come to me. And just like the thing with toxic people in your life, when you start to focus on good things, those toxic people just happen to fall away, and then you start attracting like-minded people, and you start attracting people that want to give, that you don't even have to ask, because that's the vibration that you're putting out there. And I think a lot of people don't realize how powerful like your words and your thoughts are. Like you can do affirmations all day long. You can say, I want to be rich, I want to be a millionaire, I want to be this. But if you don't feel that feeling and you're not vibrating at that frequency, it's never going to happen. Like you actually have to like believe it and know it and just follow whatever path that you think you should follow, and things just fall into place. And I've noticed that time and time again, where there's certain things I don't say in my vocabulary. I don't ever say like I'm broke, I don't have any money, I can't do that. I just, those things have gone out of my vocabulary, and I just don't worry about things. I honestly don't. I don't even really balance my like checkbook. I just know that something's going to come up, and it always does. Maybe the first couple times, I was worried, but now I don't worry at all. And I always have enough to do what I need to do, and I always have enough to do what I want to do. And it's confirming when you see that, and you just know. So now I don't live in that fear where I don't have enough money, I don't have enough to do this, I can't do this, what if this happens? Where that's where I used to be. And I'm just not like that anymore.
I used to be there all the time, and now I'm inching way more towards where you are. But every once in a while I'll have a relapse where I'm like, oh God, how much longer can I do this? And that's usually when I'm exhausted.
Right.
I never think that when I'm feeling well, which I'm never really feeling well, although the last couple days have been like, whew, I actually feel okay. And that's a sign, a goal to really diligently take care of myself and mind my energy so that I don't get into that depleted state, because when my body goes that far south, my mind goes right with it. And I want to mention there's a little mantra that I came up with, which was celebrating my wins. Did I say this in the last episode?
No,
Because if I'm not, and that goes back to a point I was going to make, if I don't notice when things work out, how am I going to build my faith in the fact that they will? So my first thing, part of this little 4-step whatever, is to notice my wins, notice my gains.
Yes.
And then the second part is be strategic and logical about where I'm going to put my energy. But then attached to that, the third thing is intuiting my next right move. Like really trying to listen and be centered enough so that even though there's a list, like my eyes go to what's the next thing to do. And then the last one was just doing that one day at a time, because if I get too far in the future, I freak right out.
Right.
And I'm miserable, and then I'm not having, you know, and it sounds so cliche, you know, these little slogans or whatever, but I have to live that way or I get overwhelmed. And the celebrating the wins, this is the thing I realized, you know, like 4 days ago. If I don't do that part, the rest of it doesn't work. Like if I don't notice what's going right, it's harder for me to trust the rest of those things of, you know, logicking where I spend my energy, you know, what's most important right now, and then following my intuition. Because if I'm not balanced in that whole thing of like, yeah, things go well for me, I have what I need, then the rest of it just kind of gets really wobbly.
Yeah, and I think that's part of your gratitude practice too. When you sit down in the morning and then you write down like the 10 things and then you send it to people, like sitting in gratitude is so important. Like it's such an important thing to do. And even if there's only that one good thing, like, oh, hey, I look good today. Thank you. You know, just something. It could be something
That's not
trivial
usually on my list.
But it could be. I'm just saying for some people who feel like nothing in their life
a good
is
hair
going
day.
Right. You know?
Well, and then you learn, you like see more and more and more. And like even in my staying home, like these bugs land on me, bugs I've never seen. And I'm like, look at you. And I spend 3 minutes watching a bug give himself a bath. And it's like so fascinating. And there's, I don't know, life.
And your focus shifts. You know what I'm saying? You could wake up and be like, oh my God, I have to do this. I have to do this. This has to get, and you could look at it that way and then it's overwhelming.
Right.
But if you're like, oh yeah, I get to do this today, or, you know, when I'm done with this, then I can do, you know, then I can do this. And so you just shift your focus. It doesn't change what you have to do in the day. Your focus is different.
Right.
And so I think that makes a huge difference. So when days I'm just like, I have so much to do, I just am like, okay, when I get done with this, then I get to do this. Something for myself. And I try to do something just for me. Even if I'm just like putting on a face mask or putting on a hair mask and just like soaking in the bathtub and like reading a book. Like something as simple as that just makes me happy. Or just sitting outside, like being in nature amongst the trees and in the grass and just like watching the kids play in the summertime. Like I get true joy out of seeing stuff like that. It's just, I don't know, it just makes me happy.
Well, and it's like the other thing that I was thinking about, which would help me, is the whole idea of intermittent resting. When I was in this meditation group, their mother center was in England. And in England, they take tea breaks.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they take them seriously, too. And you don't work while you're taking your tea break. It's a break. And so that center, you know, when I would do Siva, or I don't know how you say that, service work, we would have these tea breaks, and they also would meditate for 15 minutes before lunch. And not getting to your working to the point of exhaustion. Like if you can do this intermittent resting, and yes, I do that on my massage bed every day, but sometimes if I prolong that, I put that off too late, it doesn't go well for me. But even taking 5 minutes to sit outside with my feet in the grass and listen to my wind chimes, that's another good break. And it's harder to do some of that stuff in the winter because we're stuck inside.
And it gets dark so early. We're in Michigan, so winters are rough. It's dark at 4. Your body wants to go into hibernation, but you're I need to work out. I need to keep doing my active things that I do during the summer. But it's just harder because instinctively your body's like, okay, it's dark, go to bed. And it's like, no, I'm not doing that. You want to eat. And then you want to
eat carbs.
Yes.
I would rather but I would rather have what I have where I bust my butt, like while the weather is crap. I can't believe I'm not swearing. I'm so proud of myself. Anyway.
Yeah, she's definitely a cusser.
I'm a cusser. Big time. So that I can have that open time in the summer to, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like being in Michigan, I think people don't, well, maybe other states think this, but like Michigan is such a beautiful place.
Yes,
like,
it is.
We have so many lakes, not just the Great Lakes. We have all these tiny lakes and we have all these nature areas. And there's just like so much to do. Like, you don't have to go to another state to be on vacation. You can literally drive to the UP and you're like in a whole nother area.
Oh, yeah.
And the water up there is so beautiful and it's just like everybody lives a slower life up there. And it's just like, you can feel it. Like the energy is just
the air is
nice.
Different.
Absolutely.
The air, all the pine trees. Yeah. Probably northern Vermont is like, Vermont in general is in the same thing. So is there anything else you want to say about your process with overwork?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out. I'm like in the process because right now, like I'm a young grandma, like I'm 50. I have a lot of grandkids. Particularly, my middle daughter has a 3-year-old, so I have to help her out with babysitting and stuff. And I'm really just exhausted. Like a 3-year-old, like I had kids that are stair steps, so I had 3 under the age of 3, but I was also younger. And I'm just realizing like, wow, this is a lot of work and this is it's exhausting. So I'm trying to figure out how to like balance that and enjoy watching her because I feel like I'm always the disciplinarian. I'm always telling her, okay, we can't do this, we can't do that. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to be mom. I want to be grandma. I want to spoil them and be like, take your butts home. Like, that's what I want to do. But right now I'm having to step up to help. So I've got that on top of like having to work and then juggle everything in life. But like today, I was like, okay, I gotta go. I'm gonna go do our podcast, and I'm doing that no matter what. I left my house as a mess. All my grandkids are there. They're with my son, and I'm like, I'm out. Like, I'm gonna go do this no matter what. We don't have any food in the house. Like, I'm like, you're gonna have to figure out. I mean, we have breakfast stuff. I'm like, you're gonna have to figure it out. Like, and before I would never do that. I'd be like, nope, I need to clean. I need to grocery shop. I need to do this. But I'm like, you know what? I'm putting me first, and I'm not gonna feel bad about it. I was like, see you later.
Yeah.
Like, bye.
And when you do that, that gives other people the opportunity to step up and take responsibility. And it's like, if you never give them that opportunity, they're not going to take it.
Exactly.
Of course. I mean, yeah, you want to just keep doing all the things, who wouldn't let you?
Right.
Except someone like me.
So I just like, I don't know, before I would never be able to do that, but I'm just like, I'm going to do this. I'm doing this for myself. And then when I'm done with this, I'm going to go hang out at the pool and I'll go grocery shop tomorrow and they can clean that. My son can clean the house, and which he does. Like he's always, he'll do the dishes and do all those things. But being a mom, even though my kids are adults, I have that mothering in me still.
Yes.
I'm like, are you hungry? Do you need me to feed you? And my son can probably outcook me, honestly. Like, he's always in there making meals. So it's just letting go of that control and letting myself know somebody else can do that. Like, you don't have to do that. Yeah. Somebody else can do it. Because I would always take it upon myself. I have to do this, 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 and this. And, you're choosing to do that. Like,
yeah, that I was just going to say, what are the choices laid out before me? Because sometimes I remember when I first started in recovery for codependency, people would say, I have choices today. And I was like, that was a revolution to me. And it took a long time for that to sink in because I didn't think I had choices.
Right. You felt obligated that you had to do this.
Yeah, this is the way it is. And that was always set up by somebody else. And that's, I'm glad that I've lived alone for a while. And run my own show, as hard as it is, as overwhelming as it is. My choices are my choices. And they're between, yes, I want to take really good care of my clients, but I also, for the sake of my own, health, I've had to have certain boundaries in place about, missed lessons or whatever. But those are my choices. And life is just a bunch of trial and error, and you can always make another choice. But the only way that you're going to know how something's going to work out or how people are going to respond is to choose what you think is best for you.
Right.
Like, it's taken my family a very long time to get used to the fact that I don't have time and energy to visit them very often.
Right.
But I do what I can do. I call on the phone.
Right.
And I got a lot of, I think it's growth on both ends. I think that they're being more accepting. But if I had just kept overextending myself, to please them, I don't like how that feels. And I'm not as nice of a person. It's just like going back to that Brene Brown research where she figured out that the most giving, gracious people were the most boundaried.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they're actually taking care of themselves, so they're not giving out of an empty bucket. And, just like I've used the word titrate and I use the word refinement a lot, I just want to keep refining how I live so that not only can I be a better person for my people, but a better person for myself. Because this is my life.
Right.
Like, and that's another revelation. Like, I get to live my life for me. I was always like, oh, what can I do to help? And I'm not saying that I'm not wanting to help, but there's just different ways of looking at things. And I think that it's important because I think that the programming is still out there, like sacrifice yourself for the greater good.
Exactly. Because
It's
that's
like
what you're taught.
Yeah, we can help the greater good without being a martyr.
Exactly.
Ooh.
And then you get resentful.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I would get so resentful, and like somebody would ask me something and I would just snap, and they're like, whoa, where'd that come from? And it wasn't them, it was just me being frustrated and not being able to communicate that, like, hey, maybe I can't do this, like, sorry. And then just letting them figure it out, because they're gonna figure it out. And I really had to look at myself a couple weekends ago. I don't know what happened. A lot was going on. I was helping my daughter move. I was like exhausted. And my boyfriend was like, he's like, it's okay to like say no. He was like, they can figure it out. And he was like, I can see you're stressed out. I can feel you're stressed out. And he was like, sometimes you just have to say no and be okay with that.
Yep, I can't do that.
He was like, you can't be everything for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, but like I get caught back up in this like hamster wheel.
It's a habit, right?
Yeah, and then I was
it's a
like,
habit that you've been trained to do.
Yeah, like, nope, I can't do that. Like, I'd be happy to help you figure that out. And then he was like, no, like, you don't have to help them figure out anything. Just let them figure it out. And I think that's just part of being a mom and being a single parent for so long.
Yes.
Like, they're all I'm all they have, because we have a very small family, and, vice versa. But it's like,
well, and when you do that, it's
out.
almost like you're stealing their growth edge.
Exactly.
And
then I get aggravated and frustrated and blow up at them. But it's like, you're the one that like told them they would do it. You're the one intervening. And just let them figure it out.
Yeah. And then the dynamics, it's amazing to me how the dynamics in a relationship change. And it gives it a little bit of more breathing room to grow on both ends. But it's just like taking that leap of faith that that's actually going to work.
Right. And not feeling guilty, like not having, even though they're adults, like not having the mom guilt. And so when I make decisions now, I'm asking, like, do you really want to do that? Like, do you have the bandwidth to do that? Like, because, I still work full time. I still like have a second job. I still have things that I enjoy doing that I shouldn't sacrifice all the time to like step up and do things that they could probably figure out on their own. So that's a learning process. Like, I'm stepping back and like really looking, and and they always figure it out. Like, it's just, maybe it's part of me that I need to feel needed, and like,
need yourself then.
Exactly. But I think like that's my
you need you.
Like they need me. If I don't do it, then who's going to? Well, they're gonna do it. Like, they're adults.
Right. God, that's so fascinating. And it is a process. And it's not linear.
Mm-mm.
You know, like any of these processes of undoing programming, healing something, it's like, but then again, you know, you got to look at the wins.
Mm-hmm.
Like the trajectory is good. It's just a bumpy road.
Yeah, and I can actually, since I've like stepped back, I can like see their growth, and I'm always like, you can raise a child and you can point them in the right direction, but in the end, they're always going to choose their own path.
Mm-hmm.
And whether like you taught them different things or not, they're always going to find their own path, and they're going to trip up and they're going to fall and they're going to make mistakes. But sometimes people have to hit their head really hard before they figure it out. Like, okay, like this is not the path for me. And so I just have to learn to step back and let that happen. Just like with, them parenting their own kids. And sometimes it just blows my mind because I'm always like, I would never, like, you guys would never act that way. Like dealing with my 3-year-old granddaughter, she's just she doesn't listen to anybody. And it's just like, oh my God, I was like, you guys never acted like this when you were little. But I had boundaries and I didn't allow that. And I think the younger generation, they're into like peaceful parenting, and sometimes that just doesn't work. And I'm not saying beat your child, but I'm saying kids need boundaries, kids need consequences, and they need them consistently until they know, okay, like, oh yeah, I can't do that. And like trying to explain to my daughter, especially about my granddaughter, I was like, she's 3, she's very intelligent, she needs to learn how to listen, but you have to enforce that. I can't be the enforcer because she's gonna listen to me. Like, she'll sit in timeout all day long. I'll sit next to her and read a book. Like, you want to sit here all day? Yeah. We can do that. But it's like, I don't want to have that role. She needs to do that role. And it's just like, we bump heads a lot on that. So that's another big stressor in my life right now. And like feeling like overwhelmed and overworked. Like a lot of that is due to that.
Yes. And then it's for me to maybe wrap this up. We've been talking.
Yeah, let's see.
It's like
30 minutes.
Yeah. What are the baby steps? How can we refine, titrate, take baby steps to take balancing more, taking better care of ourselves, maybe doing intermittent things, taking a 5-minute, 10-minute break, and really letting go of everything. One thing I do at the end of the day, I say to myself like several times, you're done for today. You're done. Like, cut it off, because I work at home.
Exactly. So it's not like you go away and then come back here constantly. But here.
I was in a practice at a time, and I don't, it depends on the day or whatever, I would go on a walk just around the block with my dog. And when I came home, I came home.
Oh, right.
And going into my backyard and sitting on that swing, and just looking at my realm from a different perspective, and then coming back inside. There's just something about an energy shift. So trying to figure out a way to like shift in and out of work mode, instead of letting myself get in a frenzy, which is what I was confessing. It was like, felt like a freaking frenzy, and I don't want to do it.
Yeah. So I know for me, like moving forward, there's things that you have to do, and then there's things you choose to do. So I'm just trying to like do what I have to do, and then choosing the other things instead of feeling like I'm obligated to do them. Like, I'm not obligated to do this. Like, the world isn't going to end if I don't do these things. So I'm really trying to like look back, and right now I'm doing a meditation, it's a Joe Dispenza meditation, and it's like a 20-minute, and part of that, he's like, okay, like look through your day. How did you do? Is there anything that you would like to revise and change? And then you go through and you do that, and then he's like, okay, let it go. It's gone. It's done. Like, tomorrow's a new day. And so it's part of like living in the present moment. Like, yeah, you can look back and acknowledge the things that maybe you would have liked to do differently or do better. Acknowledge it, but then let it go and don't dwell on it. So that's really the space that I'm in right now, is looking back every night, reflecting on how my day went, what I would do differently, or some days I wouldn't do anything differently. Like, I feel like the day was perfect. And so just trying to have those days every day.
Yeah, and that sounds like a reprogramming exercise. It sounds like an inventory and a reprogramming. So, figuring out what worked and what didn't work, and then you know, and reflecting on that, I'm sure that does something in your brain.
Yeah, it's like breaking the habit of being yourself. Like that's one of his
Oh,
books,
yeah,
and
I
that's
have
the
it right
meditation.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like actually like going through and doing that, and it's
Yeah.
so powerful because you really are like looking at yourself, but not it's not a judgmental way. It's just like reflection, and then acknowledgement, and then letting it go, and then starting your day fresh the next day.
And the letting it go part, that I'm getting better at, but thank you for saying that, because if you reflect and you do the thing but you don't let go, you're like accumulating all of this caca,
Right.
you know, that's not useful to you. It's like the breathing exercises that we are going to get to. One of the ways I say it is like you inhale, but then when you exhale, you take out the trash. Because that's what exhaling is. It's a detoxification. And if you think about that more clearly while you're doing it, it's more effective. So
right. So that's something we're going to do and record, and so you can go through the practices of doing that, and just sitting down, and you know, you don't have to do an hour meditation, you don't have to do hour breath work, you know, it's just taking those little bits of time, even if you only do it like 10 minutes like 2 times a day, like that just helps like rebalance and
it's
reprogram
a reset.
you.
It's a reset too, and there's certain ways of doing breathing where it's like you're changing from one activity to another, and you kind of clear your energy field too, you know, so that you're approaching B without energy left over from A.
Right. And that's really important to learn how to do, and just be aware of that every time, because then you don't get overwhelmed, like things don't get built up, because you're like, okay, that's done, that's over, let's move on to the next task and just be done with it. Practice. Yep. Well, thank you for joining us today. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Any questions, leave them in the comments section, and thanks for joining. I can't talk. Thanks for joining us today.